Hi, and welcome to Transparent with Tina, a holistic approach for mental, physical, and spiritual well being so you can become the best version of yourself. Welcome to Transparent with Tina. I am Tina Marks, your host. And today we are going to be talking about healing mentally, physically, and spiritually, and how microdosing can actually get you off all prescription medications, open your heart, and heal all the way around. My guest is Austin West, and he has started this movement with microdosing. Welcome, Austin.
Thanks for having me.
So
It's great
I'm
to be here.
so glad to have you here. So, you and I were talking, and I actually found you because you were on Danny Morell's podcast. I love Danny. I had him on my show years ago before he really exploded. And then I went to the Awaken, and I know that he is really into plant medicine. And you have your own story. He talks a lot about ayahuasca,
Mhm.
and you are here to talk about microdosing psilocybin, which is a mushroom. So before let's talk about your backstory and how you got involved in this because it's fascinating. It really is. I mean, it's eye opening, and it to me it completely resonated with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Up until the point of my life where the mushrooms found me, because that's typically how these things.
Yeah, I like that.
I was a wreck. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was on a myriad of pharmaceuticals. I was heavy into the partying, been drinking 2 to 3 days a week. I was, snorting coke 3+ weekends a month. I was working 12 to 16-hour days. I was living much of the life that we've been sold by society to say this is what's going to make you happy, and it was
Hmm.
actually the thing that was destroying me from the inside out.
How
And
old
we,
how old were you when this was happening?
well, my first experience microdosing was 2018, so 7 years ago. So into my late 20s.
Late 20s, and you were on all these prescription medications and recreational drugs
Yes.
in your
Yeah.
20s. Okay. All right.
Yep.
So go
Yep.
ahead.
Yeah, and my first time microdosing, we went to the beach with some friends one day, and my buddy offers me a mushroom chocolate. And I was very much in line with what many other people think about these things are going to make me lose my mind. I'm not going to be able to stay in control. I've heard they
Mm,
make you go crazy. And I'm saying these things to him, and he's just staring at me. And he's like, "Bro, I've seen you snort shit out of a bag from strangers." And I'm like, "Yeah. You're right." So he calls me out in the moment, and I'm like, okay, I'll try this little mushroom chocolate. He's one of my best friends. He was my roommate at the time. It's like, why wouldn't I trust him? And about an hour and a half after I took this chocolate, I remember being on the beach and feeling like I felt the sun on my skin for the first time.
mm,
Like I was just in this ultimate state of presence. I felt connected to the water, to the sand, to my friends. I didn't want to drink anymore. The drink I had, I put it down. I'm like, I don't even want this anymore. And the way I describe that experience and just microdosing in general is these are arbiters of truth. They reconnect us to the mind, the body, and the soul. It's a very spiritual practice.
hmm.
And in that reconnection to ourselves in that way, we are exposed to the truth that we've been ignoring,
Yes.
exposed to the truth that we numb, distract, and suppress away because we think we're supposed to be doing life or living life in a certain way. And what was the most powerful experience of that day on the beach was I got to see my life in an undeniable way that I couldn't run from anymore. It's like I knew I wasn't living a life that was
Mm,
fulfilling,
mm-hmm,
but I couldn't fully grab it. I couldn't
mm,
fully recognize it and acknowledge that was in the that's the place I was in.
mm-hmm.
Microdose, it like cleared the fog of distortion that I was living life through. And it made me look at everything that I was doing, the behaviors, the actions, the places I was hanging out, the people I was hanging out with, everything I was engaging with that didn't feel in alignment to how I actually wanted to live my life. And
Right.
that became my unraveling over the next few years of really starting to get off my pharmaceuticals, get out of the party scene, stop drinking, stop numbing and running away, remembering what it is to feel again. And that is really what began my entire healing journey.
Let me ask you a question. So when you say it took a couple of years and you stopped drinking, was this like a conscious choice, or because you started healing, started living in the moment, started reconnecting, did those behaviors just naturally fall away?
I'd say yes and. Yes, it was a conscious choice, and it's like I didn't have a choice to let them fall away. It's like that's what I was being gravitated towards. Every morning I woke up with a hangover. I knew I hated drinking, but I'd do it again 5 days later.
Yes.
Every weekend I spent blacked out Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I woke up on Monday at work like, man, I don't want to do that again. And guess what? I did it again for 18 straight years.
Right.
Right. And so it was both a conscious choice of I can't unsee that I know I don't like this and I'm not going to run from it anymore. And there was an organic nature of just starting to deter by putting myself in situations where those things would present themselves.
Exactly. It's when, because for you to be taking the anxiety medication, because I suffer with anxiety, I have done a lot of work. I went through something called the Dark Night of the Soul. I don't know if you know what that is, for a year and a half. And it really, I mean, I was going to say I don't wish it on anybody, but I wouldn't have it any other way because it was one of the biggest breakthroughs for me. But I know what it feels like to have such anxiety. And I think that we make those choices basically to numb out, to escape those uncomfortable feelings, the anxiety, is because we're fragmented, because we have lost our connection to who we are. When you said, I felt the sun on my face for the first time, it really hit me when you said that, because I'm going, how many of us, it doesn't even compute. We're all
Mhm.
up here and we've lost the connection to inner peace, our heart. Everything is either the future or behind us, right? And we know that when we look too far behind us, we're going to be probably filled with regret. And we look too far forward, we're going to be filled with anxiety. See, how many of us can live in the present? Right. So these all these medications for me, when I'm doing something like it's to pacify myself, to calm myself down. And I think that, with the anxiety, who wants to live with anxiety, right? So what does your doctor do? He puts you on anxiety medication, which is not supposed to be used for long term anyway, and can lead to
Mhm.
dementia and things like that. But when you were on all these medications, did you, when you were on them, feel any kind of peace similar to what you're feeling, or did you just feel numb?
I just want to make a caveat about pharmaceuticals for a second. They're not evil, right? I believe everything is benevolent in nature. It's just about coming to the conscious conclusion about what these things were created for, which is to numb symptoms. That's
Yes.
it,
Yes.
right? So there's no right or wrong in it, right? We can, as long as we have a relationship that where I'm consciously choosing to take this medicine, knowing that it's not going to get to the root cause
Yes.
why I'm creating the symptom,
Right.
that's okay. Just make that choice consciously. That's all I ever ask of people, right? What my experience with SSRIs, with Viagra Cialis, with the Valium and Xanax, with the painkillers, with the Adderall, all these were doing is helping me force myself into a specific thing I wanted to feel because I wasn't willing to address why I was feeling that thing in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So anxiety is coming up because it's wanting us to learn how to hold ourselves in the discomfort of what's being felt so we can learn from the experience of anxiety, so I can reattune and come deeper into alignment with how I want to live my life so I don't need to feel the anxiety. Anxiety is a teacher, depression is a
Yes.
teacher,
Yes. Yes.
ADHD is a teacher, right? I have never met somebody who does something they love and has ADHD. But I know a fuck ton of people that hate what they do and they need to take Adderall to do it, right?
Interesting. Yes. When you are in your
ADHD is
purpose.
showing us that I'm going to be hyper distracted and I cannot focus because I am trying to do something that is not in my design and why I was put on this earth to do it.
Right.
Right? So it's a
Yes.
teacher. Anxiety is teaching me that if I stay on this trajectory, anxiety, I love the way you frame that because I have the same belief. Depression is the inability to accept what was, so we're living in the
Mm-hmm.
past.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety is the fear of a future that is yet to come that we're actively creating because of the way we're living our life. And so when
Yes.
people are going through anxiety, anxiety is showing you that you are not living in alignment to what you actually want to do, which is why you have fear of the future. Because if you stay on this track right now, you are not going to like where you end up. So instead of numbing from it, go all the way into feeling it and ask the anxiety, what is this teaching me about my life right now? Where am I living incongruently to how I know I want to live? What behaviors, patterns, addictions, people, environments am I still engaging in that I know are not in the alignment of what my soul's calling is to do in this life? And this is the beauty of microdosing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what medicine it is. It's numbing a lesson that is wanting to be learned to bring us back into alignment because from alignment, we have more joy, gratitude, pleasure, abundance, love, community, all the things that each one of us seek at a deeply profound level. And so
That,
when we
yeah.
microdose and we rebuild that connection to the mind, body, soul, we start to remember what that alignment looks like.
Exactly. And I reference this a lot in my first book that I think we're all, our goal is to become, to get back into our natural state, like a
Mhm.
child. Any
Mhm.
children, any child, they know exactly who they are. They're filled with joy. They don't have any fear. They know exactly what they want. What do you want to be? I want to be a police officer when I get older, you know? And you then the older we get, the responsibilities, basically the matrix, right?
Mhm.
And that's what we're trying to get out of. And I think this is the perfect time for this. I remember when CBD had come out and
Mhm.
I was way ahead of the game. I was selling that. I couldn't even do a show about it, right? And the benefits are, but trying to get people to understand, doesn't it make it, if you just ask somebody, wouldn't it make sense to take something that was made by God, the universe, a plant that's all natural? Wouldn't that make more sense than taking something that's made out of chemicals, for one,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So when you did that on the beach, you did a full dose, or you where you did with that? That was micro. Oh, it was a micro. Okay, so let's
Mhm.
talk about the difference between that because a lot of people, you started saying they're afraid that if they do a lot, well, you probably are going to hallucinate. It's because it can be a psychedelic
Mhm.
if you did that. But when you break it down into micro dosing, and you also, it's not just the mushrooms in the capsules, right? You
Correct.
also have other properties in the capsule, and you say that the mushrooms itself are merely the activator.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I believe in the totality of nature to
Mm-hmm.
provide everything we need to heal, right? It is
Mm-hmm.
already readily available for us. And again, going back to like not demonizing pharmaceuticals, like 98% of pharmaceuticals are derived from plants and fungi.
Mm.
Most people don't know that, right? It's like 60 to 70% of pharmaceuticals are from fungi, right? Penicillin is a mushroom. It is a
Oh,
fungi.
did not know that.
So, yeah. And so what a lot of people are kind of missing the point on is the reason that pharmaceuticals work in a certain way, but then they have all these other side effects is we're taking the power of nature, bastardizing it in the lab by creating this hyper-focused thing that intensifies what nature does naturally by 100 times. And then we put it in the body, and the body's like, I kind of recognize where this came from, but I don't fully recognize this. And so side effects start kicking up,
Mm-hmm.
right? We start having to deal with the ramifications of the body trying to ingest and process and integrate something into the bodies that is not of natural,
Foreign, yeah.
right? And so the beauty of any plant, any medicine, if you go down to the indigenous tribes of Mexico, Peru, Costa Rica, Brazil, any of the South American countries, they, especially in any of the jungle countries, they could name 400 plants that they use for different things.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All of nature has a medicinal aspect to it, right? And so our belief is we've built these offerings from the perspective of weaving different herbs and plants from Chinese and Ayurvedic medicinal knowledges, which have been around for thousands of years, right? So we know what those do. Just as in nature, the mushroom is the activator. It is the thing that brings to life the potentiation of nature. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There is not a grass, weed, flower, plant, tree on the planet that does not communicate or share resources through mycelial networks, which is fungus,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Right.
so, Paul Stamets, the godfather of microdosing, talks about this thing where if you go into like the Pacific Northwest, for example, like any really dense forest, under one footprint is something wild like 300 square miles of mycelium. Under every footstep you take, there's that much density of fungus. The largest organism in the world isn't a blue whale. It's a fungus. It's a mushroom that expands 30 miles wide in Oregon, right? Mushrooms have been around for 650 million years. All of nature decomposes through fungus. It communicates through fungus. It shares resources through fungus. This is the importance of the mushroom. And so we believe What the psilocybin does, because I believe that psychedelics are conscious entities, this is why I consider it a spiritual practice. This is why I think that in a world that thrives off of our disconnection from self, the
Mm-hmm.
most radical thing we can do is reconnect to self, because in that reconnection, we find our connection to God. And
Yes,
mushrooms come in and they activate the spirit and the intelligence of all the other plants, which is why they end up being healing in a certain way, is because we're just attuning to the frequency of nature, which is the remembrance of who we are.
exactly. Exactly. And you have different uh, capsules for different things, right?
Mhm.
So, for example, like I was telling you earlier, I feel like, oh, I need that one. No, now I need that one. Oh, I need that one, you know? And first of all, does anybody get all of them and take all of them? Or would that be overkill?
Yeah, I mean it's all about the intention, right? And so
Hmm.
again, these are offerings to reconnect to parts of ourselves, to use a word that you use that I love, that have been fragmented.
Hmm.
Right? Because the more whole I feel, the more connected I feel to everything, the more connected I am to the divine. And so the intention of each formula is,
Yes.
what part of myself do I feel is fragmented, to reconnect to that energetic frequency, whatever word resonates for people. We can even go into the scientific paradigm. I'm here for that as well. And so it's like something like mood and mind. A lot of people are really disconnected from the mind, the power of the mind, the power to create, the power to focus, the power to be present. And
Yes.
so all of the herbs and ingredients in that blend create an effect of the mind where we're more focused, we're more present. I get to reconnect to myself in that way. Or joint connection. It's like a great social blender for anxiety. A lot of
What was the first one you just said?
mood and mind.
Mood and mind. Okay. Now,
Or like,
yeah,
go ahead.
and that's like focus, creativity, and do all of them help, let's say, with anxiety? So my doctor says that we don't die from old age, we die from inflammation. And I couldn't agree more. When I found him a couple of years ago, I was not in great shape. I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, and he found out it was all related to my gut. Did you know that 90% of your dopamine and 90% of your serotonin are made in your gut? Okay. So I have been on all of his products ever since that day. But the ones that I want to talk to you about are the alkalizers. He's got one for coffee and he's got one for alcohol. What do? They make the beverage from acidic to alkaline, which is so important because if your body is too acidic, it is a breeding ground for disease. So you want to keep your body in an alkaline balance. So with the coffee, it comes either for black coffee or it comes flavored as a creamer. I love the flavored ones. Vanilla is my favorite, but I also love the hazelnut. They're all delicious. One scoop, and it does not break your fast for one. It changes your coffee from acidic to alkaline, which you don't have to feel guilty about drinking coffee anymore. And the one for alcohol does the same thing. 5 drops into any alcoholic beverage, and it will make it from acidic to alkaline, meaning no hangover. It doesn't change the taste, it doesn't change the color, and best of all, it doesn't change the buzz. You can still drink and enjoy yourself, all the while knowing that you're not causing inflammation in your body. So go to www.getoffyouracid.com and use the promo code Tina Marks with anxiety 20, because I know that there was one in there that said it helps with anxiety or do
Joint connection is great for anxiety because we use a lot of herbs and
that's
plant that help calm the nervous system, that like quiet the mind, kind of bring the anxious state down to a more manageable level. Again, it's not about microdosing is not about getting rid of stuff.
right.
It's
It's about
actually
opening
the
up to
truth
being
of what's there.
able to connect. I no, I have it, but uh, and like I was saying earlier, I didn't realize that my whole life I've been in fight or flight. I
Mm,
just thought that that was normal until I went through the dark night of the soul and I realized, well, that's not normal, which is another thing I want to talk about because I think most people are feeling this way and
mhm.
nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about how afraid or how alone or how disconnected they all feel, and it's become kind of like the norm to, oh, you take Xanax, I take Xanax, or whatever medication, or of course, opioids, that's a different subject. But I think, by which also puts you more and more in guilt and more shame, which is the lowest vibration on the emotional scale that you can feel. So everything is energy. And if our energy is not, number one, would be in joy. And, I tell my clients all the time, I said, the only thing I want you to focus on is living in joy. Easier said than done, because if you have a dysregulated nervous system like I do, you can't will this away.
Mhm.
I have done everything. And I have all different kinds of devices. I do breath work, I do grounding, I do red light therapy with binaural beats. And it works, but it's not consistent. I don't feel like you felt like I know that there's something more for me. I know it's on the other side, and I haven't been able to find it. Now, when I was living at the beach, I was taking microdosing, and I remember it helped a lot with my anxiety. They were gummies, but I didn't. Maybe I wasn't ready, and maybe I didn't take it long enough. But I wasn't getting to the connection and the integration that I feel like that I'm looking for. So, would you say it's it's obviously intention of what you're looking for, right? But I would think it would be the consistency of taking it. Like, at what point did you, after you started microdosing, did you start to feel like, wow, things are really shifting, things are falling away, I'm feeling less anxious, I don't feel like I have to pacify myself. Sometimes and I ADD, I've got four different kinds. I didn't even know there was more than one. There's four. But I know that's all part of my nervous system, and also being HSP, highly sensitive person, an empath, where I feel very deeply, which it's an asset, and I can help a lot of people, but it can be very debilitating for myself in moving forward. So once you start microdosing, can you give us any kind of protocol? Like, what would you expect the first month or the second month or the third month?
I've been microdosing 7 years, and I'm going to use this practice the rest of my life because it continues to help teach me about myself, my experience, where I'm harboring emotions, what I'm not confronting and facing. And the more I'm willing to go into those things, the more free and sovereign I become. And so it really depends on how you want to use it. I know people who used it for a month and didn't touch it again. And in that month, had remembrances and flashbacks about being molested by their brother and then deciding to do the healing work around that. And that's what they got.
Oh, okay.
So, I believe that this medicine is so conscious that it's going to tell us and show us exactly what we want and need to see for our greatest and most rapid evolution when we need to see it.
When you're able to handle it.
Because
Right.
we're only ever shown what we are always capable of navigating. We will
Yes.
never be delivered or given or shown anything that we are not fully capable of navigating. And in that, it will always feel uncomfortable because it's riding the edges of where our expansion lies. Expansion needs the edges to be pushed into, or else there is no
There's
expansion.
no expansion. Right. And
So,
it may feel, and it is a death. It is like Danny talks a lot about, ayahuasca, and that you're basically dying to the ego and dying to the self. And we have to understand that there is work. You just don't microdose and everything just starts to unfold. There is work that needs to go along with this, being brave enough and being courageous enough to look at this. And I just thought of something, because let's take anxiety medication, right? The whole purpose never supposed to be used for long term, right? It's supposed to, as I understand it, supposed to be used short term to be able to relax, to get to the deeper issues, but it's supposed to be used along with some form of therapy.
yeah.
But if it's not, then you're not getting, again, to, like you said, the root of the problem, right?
Yeah, it's not supposed to be something you take every day, but a lot of times people are using it that way and they're getting a script filled every month. And I have compassion because I understand that this
Yes, yes.
goes
Hey
on.
guys, okay, let's talk skincare. For most of my adult life, I had a hate relationship with my skin. I struggled with adult acne, discoloration, large pores, psoriasis, and fine lines. I swear, all that changed when I started using herbal face food. I mean, this stuff is powerful. We're talking the world's most potent antioxidant and anti blemish formula. And the serum is the number one anti aging serum in the world, made entirely from 100% botanical plants. No chemicals, no synthetics, 100% all natural. Whether you're dealing with fine lines, dark spots, sun damage, rosacea, psoriasis, melasma, or just want that all day healthy glow, Herbal Face Food has your skin covered. Literally. I've been using all their products for 3 years now, and let me tell you, it's like green juice for your face, only stronger. Remember, whatever you put on your skin goes in your body. So, this is a really important point here, seeing that it's 100% all natural. Give it a try. It's got a 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked. You could check them out at herbalfacefood.com and use promo code TINA20 for 20% off your entire order. That's herbalfacefood.com because your skin deserves the best.
So long. I know what it's like to fear the feelings, but the more you're willing to go into it and feel it, you become free of it. And just to reframe for people, especially people that deal with depression, anxiety, fear, anger, rage, every time we let ourselves to fully emote and feel the experience of what's happening, we're literally releasing that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
there
Yes.
is an end only if you're willing to be with it fully. But if I start to feel anxiety and I numb from it every time, it's going to go on for the rest of my life because I'm not actually feeling what it's trying to show me.
I,
If I go
I,
straight
yeah.
into it, then I become free of it because I'm expressing. Depression is the opposite of expressing. I
Mm-hmm.
am
Oh,
depressed because I'm not expressing. I'm not
expressing. Yes.
expressing myself, my emotions, what I'm here to do in this life. Because every one of us, as Carl Jung so eloquently, consistently spoke about, is we are here to self-individuate and realize that you are special because there's not another one of you that has ever or will ever walk this earth. And what life, what God is bringing to us, and what these medicines are showing us are the things in the way of us being the most joyful, expressive version of ourselves. And if you're willing to relate to it in that way, you can become free of anything. You can create anything. You can live the life in the way that you want. But if we're not willing to go all the way in and be with the stuff that wants to be felt and confront the discomforts, you're going to be in it for the rest of your life. And that's the choice we need to make.
Exactly. Socrates also said it, an unexamined life is not a life worth living. And it's so true. And, yeah. And,
And his follow-up quote, not in the same thing, but his follow-up to that is the purpose of life is knowing thyself.
exactly. Exactly. And, I don't know who I was talking to, but I think it was on a podcast. I was saying that you have an emotion, it's uncomfortable. What happens is at like the height of that emotion, I can't deal with this anymore. So we numb out, we shut down. If we only felt like you just said, if we only carried it all the way through, it's expressed, it's released. Because now what happens if you stop when it's like, let's say, the scariest, the most painful, it gets trapped in your body. And because we're all energy, now you have a lot of crappy energy in your body, right? That you don't want anymore. So, and I say to people go, like, well, how do I do that? It's really painful. When they say it's darkest before the dawn, it's like I think most people stop with that emotion when it gets scary right before the breakthrough. Because I say, you know what? Look at it this way. Take anything that you're afraid of and follow it all the way through. The last thing you're probably going to get to, well, if I lose my money, then I'm going to be kicked out of my house. Then I'm going to be homeless. And what's the worst thing? And then I'll die. All right. Now, okay, now we know what we're talking about. I can handle that because we're all going to die anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's something really beautiful about that, like taking it all the way to the end of what wants to be expressed, right?
Hmm.
In that release, then we're making space for what's actually meant for us to come in. If we don't express and make that space, my life's never going to look different.
Right. Exactly.
My life's never going to look different.
Now you talk a lot about somatic therapy. Do you do that alongside of microdosing?
I mean, at this point in my life, this far in my journey, I do it all. I do breath work, I do meditation. I think journaling is the most underrated, underdeveloped tool that all of us have. I have coaches and guides that I work with. I work with a channeler. I like dip into that realm that a lot of people doesn't think exists. But if I'm getting value from it, that's the only thing that matters to me. I don't need to attach my belief systems to what society believes as a whole. I
Hmm.
trust. Does it feel like it's expanding my life or contracting my life? And so I do all of these different somatic therapies. I'll mess around with the cold plunges. I move my body every single day. I get sunlight. I do grounding. I eat whole organic foods. But that's been a 10-year accumulation of learning all of these things. There's one really important aspect I want to talk about somatics real quick,
Hmm.
is the body is an expression of our belief systems.
Hmm.
And the body is withholding the things that the mind aren't allowing to express. And you pointed to
Yeah.
emotion. I
Yes.
believe that all disease, cancer, and dis-ease within the body are trapped emotions that aren't
I
being.
do too.
Your back pain isn't because of something physical. It's because that you're not feeling grounded and rooted in yourself, and there's
Yes.
no release. Your cancer is pointing to the part of your body where you're harboring emotions that haven't been released. And this is somebody who's gone through having had and gone through lung cancer. That
You?
ayahuasca and my plant medicine experiences helped me integrate because there was decades worth of grief from my father leaving and being sexually molested at 12 years old by a member of my church that I did not deal with. And when I dealt with all of the wounding and grief that came up from that, then this was able to go away. But if I did not, lung cancer for most people isn't the smoking. It's the grief. The smoking is the
No,
numbing
I know that the lungs hold the grief. Yes.
yeah.
And then
And
the
so it's like,
kidneys hold something else. And that, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And I had breast cancer and I just finished my first book. It's called The Domino Effect, Fear versus Faith. And
Mm,
I remember when I got the call from my doctor, I wasn't scared. I was more sad. I was
mhm.
sad. And, they wanted me to do radiation and follow up with a drug called tamoxifen. And my intuition was like, no, everybody thought it was crazy. And that's when we were talking earlier, that's when I found Dr. Robert Young and I went on alkaline and raw foods. I've been cancer free since 2011,
That's
and I know that that was trapped, energy. And I'm surprised it wouldn't have been because I went through a lot of grief too. But that's very true. And I think that people need to understand that when you heal your mind and you heal, it's all in the mind, starts in the mind. And you heal
mhm.
the mind, you heal your body.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like I can do all the breath work and somatic work in my life, but if I don't address what's causing that discomfort in the first place, then I'm going to be stuck in the cycle of somatic work the rest of my life. And so it's yes, and we need to do the somatics and we need to do the work with the mind and the belief systems in navigating those things out. If I have a belief that I don't ever look at or address, that belief's going to continue to reflect in my body. It's going to continue to create dysregulation because I believe that that's the state I'm in. So it's like I get regulated and the belief pulls me back, and it's just this cycle. And so
Yes,
I
yes.
think over the last 2 decades, there's been a lot of beautiful work and attention applied to somatics, and we've bastardized the mind in that process. You have to work on both. You have to work on both. You have to build a relationship with your truth, which is building a relationship with your mind. And that's how you build a relationship with trust. You have to start weeding out what it is that I believe about myself and the world. What are the traumas and wounds that I'm withholding that are giving me a perspective of reality that's not true, and giving the body the space to process everything it's been holding. When you do
Mm.
both of those things in kind, life really starts to open up because you're actually releasing, not just running through the cycles of partly releasing.
Yeah. And I had an energy clearing not too long ago, and I've had a lot of people do energy clearing on me, and nobody could open up my heart chakra until this
Mm,
woman did. And she's like, wow, I mean, and we have to understand that it's our body trying to protect us because of
mhm.
a wound that happened when we were little. Okay. Basically, that's what happens. And I'm not going to ever feel that again. Right. So my heart had been so broken. It was trying to protect me. But then, of course, I can't let love in if I've got it protected like that. And that's the way we have to look at it, healing our like all of our chakras and things like that. Hey, real quick, let's talk about something we all deal with but never really think about. Electromagnetic radiation. Yeah, EMF. It's everywhere from our phones, laptops, Wi Fi routers, even our smart fit fridges. And no, I'm not saying ditch your tech. I mean, who could? But I am saying you can protect yourself from unnecessary exposure with Aries Tech. Backed by peer reviewed studies and independent testing, Aries Tech makes compact, science backed EMF modulation devices that help reduce the effects of electromagnetic radiation on your body. Rather than blocking the EMFs, Aries Tech's products work with your own body's electromagnetic field to balance out the effect. Yes, you heard that right. Our body is made up of energy, and this works with your own energy to balance out the effects. I've got one around my neck, one on my phone, and one in my living room. And honestly, it gives me peace of mind knowing I'm doing something small that can make a big difference over time. So whether you're working from home, gaming for hours, or just scrolling your feed in bed, protect your space. Check them out at ariestech.com and use the code TINA25 for 25% off your order. That's AIRES tech.com because your body deserves better. What, when you say, I want to go back to this because the microdosing allows you, does it in itself bring up the wounds and so you can feel them, or is that in conjunction with, let's say, somatic? So if I start doing the microdosing, well, it starts showing me what needs to be healed.
So there's two ways that I like to frame this. There's a term that a lot of people in the space use, which is non-specific amplifier. And this is for all psychedelics. They're bringing to the surface what's already there. All they're doing is clearing the distortion that we have created to protect ourselves from it. It closes the gap between the distortion and what my lived experience is. Another way I like to say it is they're arbiters of truth. They're bringers of truth. They connect us to the truth of our experience.
Makes it more clear.
They're not creating anything that's not already there. They're
Right.
just revealing
Bringing
what's
it to the
already.
forefront.
Exactly. And that gives us the capacity. And this is why when we use this practice intentionally, remembering that it's to reconnect to the self, which is reconnecting to the divine, when we go in with that intention, we're building a safe space for us to be like, okay, I'm ready to look at what is keeping me stuck. I'm ready to be with what is preventing me from being free. And there's something really beautiful. It's like, I don't want to talk about this practice is that it's always bringing up stuff and making us feel. Most days I take it, it reminds me that I am a joyful, creative, love
Mm.
being in this life because that is the very innate thing I am by being part of this human experience. And in that frequency of gratitude and love, I get to attract more of that into my life, which helps me in actually addressing the things that are difficult. And so it's constantly just revealing to us what we already are, the divine nature of our beings, and bringing us closer to how is it that I want to walk in this life? What is it that I want to emanate and call in and magnetize to me? And it brings up the things in the way and it brings up the reminders that we already are those things.
That we, yes, and it sounds like maybe relaxes you, so you're more able to deal with it. Because when you're in a heightened
Relaxes the
state,
protect.
huh?
It
What's that?
relaxes the protector.
Relax and protect.
It relaxes the protector.
Relax is the protector. Okay,
The
and
protector is what's preventing us from feeling,
right,
right?
yeah,
It relaxes the
IFS, the IF.
protector to pull up what wants to be felt. It's not that it makes it easier to feel, it's that it shows you what wants to be felt. And
I
then we
see.
learn how to hold ourselves in that. We get to learn from the experience. This is the framework. I teach this thing called psycho-spiritual constructivism, which is much longer conversation we won't get into, but the base premise of this is that I believe our individual realities are created by the intersection of our psyche and our spirit. And that perspective is what creates reality, right? We have
Hmm.
this physical 3D and we have the soul and the intuition and connection with God that science will never be able to explain. That intersection is what creates everything in a reality. And I believe that I am creating everything in my reality to teach myself about myself.
Yes,
And so
yes,
every single thing that we are experiencing in life, you're experiencing it because it's trying to teach you something.
exactly.
If
For your
we
highest good.
Exactly. And if we build that relationship with it, we can become free of anything because any challenge, any circumstance, any fight, any trigger, any defensiveness, any individual, anything that happens It's noticing like, wow, this is bringing up a lot for me. And let me get curious about why.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this showing me that I'm giving my power away to something or something outside of someone or something outside of myself? Where
Yes.
is this showing me that I'm harboring resentment, grief, guilt, shame, or any emotion that's preventing me from being the full expressive version of myself? Right. And
Yes.
so tuning into the relationship that all of life is trying to teach you about yourself. And from that paradigm, I'm welcoming of everything life wants to bring me.
Yes. And we are creating all of that.
Yeah.
And we label things as good or bad or how they appear. But if I think the key word here is surrender. You need to surrender to life that it's constantly trying to show you to become the best version and just really integrate with yourself. But you know what I used to do is I'd be like, yeah, I'm surrendering when everything's going well until
Mhm.
something happens. Like I had a heck of a morning this morning and I had to use the things that I know that help me, center myself and say, no, it just appears that way because it would be very easy to go into fear. Fear, well, no, it's happening for me, not to me. And I love that the cliche, everything's either a blessing or a blessing in disguise, because it's obvious if it's a blessing, but if it's a blessing in disguise, it's still a blessing. And
Right.
that's, I think, if we kind of just attach ourselves and commit ourselves to following that, then I think that's half the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ab-
Um, One more question I have. CBD as opposed to microdosing.
I don't
Well,
know much about CBD.
oh, you don't? Okay.
I'm a huge fan of cannabis. It's one of my favorite plants. It's been really healing for me. It's one of
Yeah.
the best tools I have for tapping into my creativity.
Yeah.
CBD space, I just don't want to speak on something I don't have a lot of knowledge on.
And do you think somebody would have to, because I know you've done ayahuasca. Danny says he wouldn't even have anybody work for him if they hadn't done it. Um, do you feel that somebody has to do ayahuasca to reach that state that he talks about?
No, and I like to, I've probably sat in 150 medicine ceremonies over the last 7 years. So I've gone
Oh
to Peru,
my.
Mexico, and Costa Rica, and I've sat with many indigenous elders and ayahuasqueros and maestros, and I'm committed to this path. I've been called to this path because it
Yep.
continues to open up and expand me. It continues to drop me into my heart and be more creative and more loving. And one of the blessings that I've experienced by being able to sit with all these different medicines is understanding that each one has a certain frequency of consciousness it carries, and it's bringing us a
Mm,
certain aspect of what we need in this life, like a puzzle piece. And so
mm-hmm.
ayahuasca, I believe, is like the ultimate healer. Mushrooms, are the ultimate connector. Bufo,
Mm.
straight channel to God.
What's the straight channel God? What did you say?
Bufo, it's a toad. It's DMT.
Oh, the
People.
toad. Yeah, I've heard of that. Okay.
Yeah, Wachuma, San Pedro cactus is the ultimate grounder. Peyote is like so beautiful for creating community and play and dance and laugh and joy and so each of these teach us something different. I think ayahuasca is the most healing plant in the world
You
from my
do.
personal experiences, right? Because it induces these purges of letting us move through things and physically let them go because they no longer serve us. And it's not easy for a lot of people. And everyone that I know has come out of that, whether they had a difficult experience or not, talks about how healing it was because it's literally letting go parts of ourself that doesn't serve us. Now, with that being said, not everybody's ready for that. If you are ungrounded, if you don't have the support or the capacity to confront aspects of yourself that you've hidden from, I'd probably start with the journaling practice, starting to tell yourself the
Yeah,
truth.
exactly. Because it can be
Yeah.
traumatic. It can be
And
a
so I
traumatic
I
experience.
am in full belief of the power of these medicines because I am in the full belief that nature does not screw up and God put everything on this planet for our highest and best use. And when
Yes.
those things are used with intention, they can be radically transformative. But most people aren't using it for, I wouldn't say that. A lot of people that have bad experiences, they'll take 3 grams of mushrooms and then go party with their friends and talk about how terrible mushrooms are.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You're going to have a bad time in that environment. But if you're in a retreat setting with safe people, where your nervous system is safe, where you're held, where you can go into a deep experience journey with the right intention and music, you're going to have a life-altering experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do you
so
feel
really,
like you need to be called to the ayahuasca? 'Cause I've heard that. People say
yes.
I'm not being called. So if you don't feel called, then leave it alone.
And it's with all the medicines.
Oh, it
I
is.
I believe in our intuition is calling and pulling us towards
Yes.
exactly what we
Exact
need.
again, like what we were saying. It's always when we're ready for that.
Yes.
Exactly. Oh God. Okay. Well, I have, let me see if there's anything else that I had on here. Oh, you also were talking about the difference between drugs and medicine, which I found very interesting. Tell us the difference between drugs and medicine.
My definition, and this is just from my felt experience of
Mm-hmm.
being on basically every medicine and drug under the sun, is I believe that drugs contract the experience of life. I believe medicines expand the experience
Mm-hmm.
of life. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I take something, is it making me feel more open, more lively, more connected to myself, more connected to my heart, to my community, to God? Or is it numbing me and
Tracting.
making me feel like a zombie? Is it draining my energy? Do I want to feel like I want to just sit on the couch? Am I motivated to live my life?
Yes.
And people will know exactly what I mean based on every single thing they take, right? Caffeine can be considered a drug or a medicine,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how you take it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything that we ingest that creates any slightly altered state fits in one of these two categories. And so it's just about being honest and reflecting with yourself. What does this make me feel? And you'll be able to determine that answer on your own.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I've learned a lot here with you, Austin, and I just applaud you for starting this movement and bringing it forward. And I know that you're going to help heal a lot of people.
Hmm.
And I can't wait to try it. So
Thank you
I've
so
just got to
much.
figure out which
So
ones
great
I'm
to
going to
drop in.
try. Huh?
So great to drop in with you.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us this week. And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. It's Tina Marks TV, so you don't miss any of these great episodes. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much, Austin, for being here
Great
and
to have
being
you.
who you are.